Some big-time Miami Dolphins news to break down revolving the NFL Draft. One of the top prospects and top targets for Miami, Will Johnson, finally worked out in front of NFL evaluators after his collegiate career. We'll talk about what he did there, but also three Dolphins top 30 visits got leaked today on social media. We'll go through those three prospects. I'm Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. We'll start with the Michigan corner, Will Johnson, because he is working out. He did, at least, on Monday for the first time in front of NFL evaluators post his college career. Remember, he was hurt during the NFL Combine. He was also still injured during Michigan's Pro Day, so he wasn't able to test athletically or go through any drills to get his stock improved. Remember, this is a player that coming into the season was a projected top 5 pick out of Michigan, but only played 6 games, got hurt, and his stock has fell off just a little bit. So let's look at what he did do. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people, including myself, wanted to see him run the 40-yard dash to see what he would run, because one of his biggest knocks is that he does not have blazing straight line speed. Well, he did not do that. He did do a vertical and a short shuttle plus some drills, 37-inch vertical, 4.33 short shuttle, which is not good. We'll showcase that in a bit. But he was described, at least to Dane Brugler, very smooth during his positional drills. You would have known about everything today if you followed me on Twitter. I talked a lot throughout the day on the top 30 visits that the Dolphins had, as well as Will Johnson working out. So if you want more Dolphins news before our YouTube shows prior, well, follow me on Twitter, Nic_Rohloff. I'll follow the first 5 people back who follow me on today's show. All right, I did want to look at this because this is a potential concern for Will Johnson. I have consistently relayed to y'all, if you watch our videos, that Will Johnson has become my clear-cut number 1 guy for Miami at 13. Due to the uncertainty of the Jalen Ramsey future in Miami, plus the just overall need of a second corner on this Dolphins depth chart, I think Johnson fits in very, very well. Well, that short shuttle is not something to be proud of if you're Will Johnson. It was in the 13th percentile. Yeah, that's not good. And his arm length, something that is pretty much, I wouldn't say required, but it's an indicator of a good man coverage, a good press coverage corner, and he lacks 30.1-inch arms, 10th percentile. So the fact that maybe he's not the most twitchy in terms of quick bouncing around and then the arm length, you have to wonder, is he going to be someone that struggles in man coverage at the next level? Is he only a corner that can play good in zone coverage? Well, Todd McShay shared his thoughts, an NFL draft analyst, on Monday about Todd McShay, saying that in conversations with personnel folks over the weekend, told that Will Johnson will do everything that run a 40. That ended up being true. Considered a top 20 pick by zone-heavy defensive teams. That's very important by the measurements I just mentioned. A sniper with his eyes forward and playing the ball in front of him, but limited when back is turned to the QB, lacks recovery speed and struggles to track the ball downfield. He's reportedly been running in the high 4.5s in training, which explains not running a 40-yard dash. Good football player in the right scheme. So the question is, does Miami have the right scheme potentially for Will Johnson? We'll talk about that here in just a second. But after seeing the no 40-yard dash, the measurements, the percentile, and the concern from Todd McShay and some people that he's talked around, would you take him if he was on the board at number 13? Type Y if you would, type N for no. It's today's pinned comment. So you've gave with YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answers today's question. Listen, I would get the concern, but I would still take Will Johnson at 13. I have known most of these concerns, and I still have him as my number 1 guy. And you can factor in a lot of things here with Miami. The biggest needs on this roster are obviously defensive line, left guard, and cornerback number 2. I don't think there's an offensive lineman worth taking here unless Will Campbell or Amon Mambu fell, but I don't see that happening whatsoever. And I don't think it's good. And I've just prioritized, let's say, Will Johnson over some of the defensive linemen that would be available because Mason Graham won't be there. So the top D linemen on the interior will be Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, and Walter Nolan. Yeah, I have Will Johnson higher on my big board. And with the need at corner being so big and glaring, why not just take the Michigan Wolverine? Now, I wouldn't be that opposed to taking Jahdae Barron from Texas, but we'll focus on Will Johnson here with this video because to me, he blends perfectly. And one thing you saw last season with the Miami Dolphins defense is that they are very exotic. He comes from that Mike Macdonald defensive scheme. Obviously, he's in Seattle now, but Weaver worked underneath him in Baltimore before McDonald left. And they bring exotic blitzes. They run a lot of different multiple fronts. I was telling people in the Chat Sports office when talking about Will Johnson today, yeah, there might be concern to his man ability, but the Dolphins just bring so many different looks to where it could be zone. It could be a corner blitz. It could be a man defense. It's such a versatile and multiple secondary that is required that because of Will Johnson's pedigree and him just being a good football player rather than a traitsy guy, I still think I have no issue taking him with the 13th pick. And for the people out there that might be a little bit concerned with his straight line speed, I did want to showcase this from the 33rd team because they were talking about the no 40 from Will Johnson. Well, last season, he was clocked on a play against Fresno State where Fresno State was driving and Will Johnson read a little hitch route, intercepted the ball, and took it back 90 yards for a touchdown. He was clocked at 20.3 miles per hour on that play. Now, he did get a little bit of a running start into that dash from the 20-yard line to the opposite end zone. But if you can get up to 20.3 miles per hour, I'm not that concerned about your speed. So that's why I'm actually fine with this. Will Johnson didn't run the 40. I'm fine with him not running the 40 because I think he is a good football player. And I am in the business of getting good football players on the Miami Dolphins, specifically on a massive position of need that is cornerback. The one thing that does give me reservations for Johnson is that 4.33 shuttle that is in the 13th percentile of NFL cornerbacks and prospects. That is slightly concerning. I get there is man-to-man defensive concerns, but with his ability to work extremely well in zone coverages, and with the Dolphins, Anthony Weaver's defense running so many versatile and exotic schemes and looks, I think Will Johnson would fit perfectly next to Jalen Ramsey and even potentially be that CB1 of the future for the Dolphins. So I am still taking him if he's on the board with the 13th pick. So we'll transition from Will Johnson now to the Dolphins' top 30 visits because 3 new players have been revealed to visit Dolphins headquarters. We'll get into that here in just a second. But we are sponsored by Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I use Game Time whenever I go to tickets, and with the NBA playoffs getting started this week, get your tickets with Game Time. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying your tickets for the NBA playoffs and concerts. They also have last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets. If you're a procrastinator, Game Time is the best ticketing service and app for you. They have zone deals, which save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose your seats. They have all-in pricing, which shows you the total price of your ticket up front with no surprise fees coming at checkout. Nothing worse than thinking you're going to get a ticket for, say, $70. You had the checkout. Oh, it's actually $110. Drives me up a wall. Won't happen with Game Time when you use all-in pricing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Let's move over to the top 30 visits for the Miami Dolphins. The first player, we're going to talk about another corner here, the Central Florida DB BJ Adams. He was in Miami on a top 30 visit. This is an intriguing player. He's got good size. He's nearly 6'2", which is a very good, solid size for a corner. But he is not the most explosive athlete if you're looking at his traits. He's also a little bit thin. Only 182 at 6'2" is definitely a concern. And I like to look at vertical and broad jump when it comes to corners. Yes, the shuttle testing, the straight line speed is helpful. It's important. But the explosiveness, I think, also is an indicator of if you can be able to press your guy, get beat, and make up, right? That step. Now, he did run a or 4.53, 40-yard dash. So the straight line speed is there. He had a decent season for the Knights in the Big 12 last year in 369 snaps, only allowed a 51.4 completion percentage, had a couple takeaways, a QB rating of 80.9. It's certainly someone that is interesting in terms of adding him to this Dolphins group. And now when you might ask, when would he go off the board? This is a late day 3 pick. This is maybe someone we should stash in the back of our minds as an option with the 3 7th-round picks the Dolphins own, or maybe a UDFA target. But with the Dolphins not having a 6th-round pick, it would likely have BJ Adams joining Miami with one of those 7th-round picks or an undrafted free agency. We'll get to 2 more players here in just a second, but we are 10 days away from the NFL Draft. Make sure you are subscribed. Any piece of news, rumors, mock draft, we'll have you covered over the next 10 days until that April 24th first round. We'll also be live for all 3 days of the NFL Draft. Join us here because we're going to have the best coverage on YouTube surrounding the Dolphins NFL Draft. Someone that the Dolphins fans might get happy about if you are a college football fan as well, because University of Miami running back Damien Martinez is visiting the Dolphins on a top 30 visit. This is a player that a lot of Dolphins fans have wanted Miami to take a look at, and it's someone that I'm intrigued with as well in the middle rounds if Miami ultimately wants to add a running back. Martinez, a similar build to Alexander Madison, who Miami signed in free agency on a 1-year deal to be their short yardage guy. Both players are 5'11". Madison's at 220. Martinez is at 217. So similar height and weight combination between those two guys. Martinez has a good blend of physicality and explosiveness, running a 4.51 40, but the physicality and ability to run through contact is what intrigues me the most. We'll showcase a fun statistic here in just a second on Martinez, but he was a great transfer portal pickup for Cristobal and the Hurricanes last season. After 2 years playing for the Beavers of Oregon State, where he had nearly back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and a total of 16 touchdowns, he caught a lot of people's eyes. Then ran for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in a high-octane Miami Hurricane offense. He was productive, he was physical, he was explosive, and is going to be a very solid professional running back at the next level, whether he's a lead back or a complementary back. And something that makes me like Damien Martinez even more, not as only a prospect, but for the Miami Dolphins, is that he had a 30.8% success rate when contacted behind or at the line of scrimmage. That was number 1 in the FBS. He was able to evade defenders, get through arm tackles, and make big plays for that Miami offense. I'd like to keep that in Miami with him joining the Dolphins roster. A 4-man running back group of Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Alexander Madison, and Damien Martinez would be special. It would be fun. It would have a great blend of explosive athletes, physical running backs, short yardage guys, and pass catchers. If Damien Martinez is available at the right selection, I'm all in on drafting him. And when is that selection? It would be early day 3. Remember, Dolphins have 10 draft picks, with 4 of them coming in the first 60 picks of the second or third day. 2 in the 4th round and 2 in the 5th round. I would be open to taking Damien Martinez with one of those 4 picks in the 4th or 5th round. It just depends on where Miami feels comfortable taking him if they wanted to draft Damien Martinez. But it's clear they might want to draft a running back because they also are having a top 30 visit with Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon, one of the most productive players at the college level over the past couple of seasons. And this one is raising the alarms for me, and it should for you as well as a Dolphins fan. Why is that? It's because this is the second time they are meeting with Ollie Gordon. They had 15 visits/meetings at the NFL Combine, ranging between first-round picks like Will Johnson, they met with him at the Combine, to Ollie Gordon, to Malachi Moore from Alabama. But when you have it line up to where you had a Combine meeting and then a top 30 visit, that is a clear indication that this front office is eyeing this prospect. So let's talk about Ollie Gordon. who has great size for the position. 6'1", 226, physical. He runs extremely well in between the tackles. And I don't think he is that slow of a back. He ran a 4.61, but when you are the size that he is, you are not an explosive back. You are meant for someone to just be physical, pound the defense, wear them down over the middle of the field and in between the tackles. And that's what Ollie Gordon did at Oklahoma State. Now, it is interesting to see his production fall off from 2023 to 2024 because he was the winner of the top running back award at the college level in 2023. Him and Amarian Hampton were the two finalists. Gordon took it home because he ran for 21 touchdowns and 1,700 yards. But he just didn't have the same success in 2024. Now, you can attribute that to Alan Bowman being the starting quarterback for half the season for the Pokes and that offense not being very good. So they just stacked the box with 8-9 guys and said, yeah, we're making sure Ollie Gordon doesn't beat us. But I still think he would be a good player at the next level. Now, the one concern with him is that he does have a lot of wear and tear on his body. Having, what is that, 400, nearly 500 carries over the last 2 years is concerning. To me, he's a mid to late day 3 pick in the NFL draft. So anywhere between maybe late 5th round to 7th round. Remember, as I'll mention again, no 6th round picks for Miami. 3 in the 7th, 2 in the 5th. Could they spend their 2nd, 5th round pick on Gordon or try and wait to see if he falls to one of their 3 picks in the 7th? That's an option as well. I'm intrigued by Ollie Gordon. I really, really am. I'm just curious to see if he will be there when the Dolphins are picking because to me, I think he goes in the 6th round. But let me know. Pick a running back. If you were to choose an RB for Miami to draft and you just had to choose from one of these two guys, would it be Damien Martinez type DM? If it's Ollie Gordon type OG, I would also preface this with take into account the draft status, where it's Martinez for 5th round, Ollie Gordon might be 7th round. Let me know your thoughts. One thing is very clear when it comes to the NFL draft for the Miami Dolphins. They will be adding a running back in some capacity. I do not anticipate it being in the first 3 rounds or the top 100 picks. But Mike McDaniel said at the NFL Combine that they are expecting to add 2 to 3 running backs to the depth chart. That's when they had just Devon Achane and Jalen Wright. They signed Alexander Madison in free agency, which leaves them likely one more running back to this room. And them having multiple meetings at the Combine and then the top 30 visits with Damien Martinez and Ollie Gordon signifies that Miami is 1,000% drafting a running back on day 3 of the NFL draft in all likelihood. We'll just have to see if it's in the 4th round, 5th round where they have 2 picks each, or maybe in the 7th round where they have 3 selections. That will do it for this episode of Dolphins Today. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because, like I said, we'll have you covered with everything you need to know around the Miami Dolphins leading up to the draft, during the draft, and after the draft. So join the channel today.